When a billionaire discovered his maid's secret dance, an incredible transformation unfolded. Zachary Grant strutted down the streets of his affluent neighborhood, a man draped in power and wealth. At 40 years old, he was a self-made billionaire, his empire towering like a skyscraper among the pristine suburban homes. Success here was marked by the opulence of cars, the grandeur of estates, and, of course, the size of bank accounts. Little did he know how vastly different life was just a few blocks away, an empire built on struggle, dreams deferred, and the rhythm of hope. As he entered the threshold of his sprawling mansion, Zachary caught a glimmer of movement out of the corner of his eye. The flickering light of a window stood out against the dusky evening, drawing him to Maria's small apartment. There, in the shadows of her modest home, he found Maria, his housekeeper, swaying gracefully across the floor, dancing like a whisper of wind. Each twist of her body spoke of stories untold, weaving layers of passion and pain, a stark contrast to the cold, calculated world he inhabited. Maria, in her worn-out shoes, filled her space with the fervor of a woman dreaming in silence. She spun and leapt, her heart and soul woven into every movement. Zachary, transfixed, felt nostalgia stir within him, emotions he had long pushed aside in the pursuit of wealth. As he stood, watching her dance, something inside him sparked. He saw not just a housekeeper but a mother, a woman fighting for her children's future, illuminating the hollow spaces of his life. Days turned into weeks, and their brief exchanges blossomed into something more, curiosity igniting like a flame. They began to talk. She spoke of her children, of the dreams she juggled while working 2 jobs. Educating them, supporting their passions was a race against time. He shared his burdens too, though they felt lighter compared to hers. He was never needed, only a figure of worth. But then came the local festival, vibrant with laughter and joy. Maria's children, eager to fit in, were confronted by privileged peers who jeered at their clothing, who pointed out the differences with a sting sharper than any blade. Zachary watched. The punch of realization hit him like a chill in the bones. This was a world built on delicate facades, one where economic disparity had infected the innocence of youth. Initially, he brushed it off, wandering back to his world. But the moment gnawed at him, buried itself deep in his conscience. That night, comforted by lavish luxury, he couldn't shake the image of Maria's children from his thoughts. Something shifted. It was time to take action. Zachary decided to host a charity gala, a beacon of hope for families like Maria's. As he threw himself into planning, the lines between their worlds began to blur. Maria's vibrant spirit ignited a change in him, pushing the boundaries he had clung to. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But just as things began to flourish, shadows from Maria's past threatened to overshadow their connection. Tensions rose, trials unveiled, and as the gala approached, hope mixed with fear. Zachary felt the crack in his privilege widen. Maria's dance emerged as a symbol of resilience, drawing families closer together, framing their struggles under a single spotlight. As the gala drew near, a question hung heavy in the air. Could a friendship born from hardship endure the tides of social judgment? As the curtain to their stories began to raise, Zachary stood on the precipice of his destiny, eager to discover if they could bridge the gap before it was too late. The days leading to the gala felt like a whirlwind. Zachary busied himself with preparations, his mind racing from one detail to the next. Each evening, he'd find himself stealing glances at Maria as she worked, finding inspiration in her tireless dedication. But just as quickly, doubts crept in. He was entering unknown territory, a world where he had never been welcomed. Maria, too, was undergoing her own transformation. The idea of stepping into the spotlight exposed her to visceral fear, yet excitement fluttered in her heart. She had spent years hidden in the shadows, tending to others while her own dreams lingered, silenced. Now there was a glimmer of possibility, an invitation to reclaim her voice. However, the whispers of her past echoed in her mind. She remembered every sneer, every judgment, and the laugh that followed her poverty-stricken roots. How could she walk among the elite? She filled her days doing menial tasks, rarely glancing at the futures she once envisioned. Yet Zachary had seen something in her that no one else had, and that glimmer of belief sparked a flicker of courage. As the night of the gala dawned, anxiety curled in her chest like a tight knot. Maria chose a simple dress, one that reflected her modesty but also highlighted her grace. Standing in front of the cracked mirror, she hesitated, closing her eyes to summon strength. Could she truly shine? Zachary stood by the front entrance of his grand mansion, the heavy oak doors flung wide to welcome guests. The air buzzed with excitement, each arrival framed as a moment cherished. But every beaming smile made him acutely aware of his social stature. He scanned the crowd, waiting for Maria, his heartbeat quickening at the thought of her joining in. When Maria finally stepped through the threshold, she took his breath away. It wasn't just the simple elegance of her dress, it was the warmth in her eyes, the soft resolve etched across her face. He couldn't help but approach her, feeling an undeniable connection. "You look incredible," Zachary whispered, and in that moment, Maria felt something shift inside her, a spark of belief igniting in the warmth of his gaze. She smiled, shyly. Together they mingled among the guests, sharing stories and laughter. Hours passed, yet Maria's confidence blossomed, buoyed by Zachary's unwavering support. With every conversation, she realized that her past didn't define her, it shaped her. But just as the night reached its peak, shadows whispered in the background. An unexpected face appeared, an old acquaintance from Maria's past. The woman's eyes narrowed, reflecting judgment, and her words dripped with disdain. "Look who's mingling with the elite," she sneered. Maria felt the knot tighten again. All the progress she made threatened to unravel in an instant. The room dimmed as whispers spread, the laughter fading to a hushed tension. Zachary noticed the shift immediately and felt his stomach drop. All his efforts to bridge the gap felt overshadowed by one toxic remark. He moved closer to Maria, determination hardening inside him. He would stand up for her, for their connection, for her journey. As the intensity in the room grew, Maria's heart raced, teetering between embarrassment and defiance. Would she shrink back or find her voice? The pivotal moment was upon them, both fragile and fierce. In that suspended space, she could either succumb to judgment or unleash the fire that had long lingered within. What would she choose? Would their friendship withstand the harsh glare of social scrutiny? Maria felt every eye in the room turn towards her, the air hovering thick with tension. The voice of her past sliced through her fragile confidence, echoing every insecurity that had haunted her. But alongside those old wounds, something new began to stir, nudging her forward. She caught Zachary's eye, his unwavering gaze full of strength and promise. "You know what?" she thought. "I'm not going to let her words drown me." With a deep breath, Maria turned to face the judgmental woman. "And what about it?" The words slipped from her lips, surprising even herself. She had expected fear but found a spark instead of shrinking. She was standing tall, her heart racing yet exhilarated. The crowd continued to murmur, some shocked, others whispering encouragement. Zachary stood by her side, pride dawning in his eyes. Her courage, unveiled at that instant, sparked something in him, something he hadn't realized he had been waiting for. "You have no idea who I am," Maria challenged, her voice steady and firm. "Just because I've stood in the shadows doesn't mean I don't have my own story. You think I can't be here? Well, guess what? I'm embracing my life, and I'm tired of hiding." The room buzzed, the border between silence and chaos juxtaposed against Maria's resolve. Heads nodded, murmurs grew softer, and for the first time, the laughter faded only because people were hanging on her words. Zachary took a half step towards her, emboldened by her bravery. You've done more than you know, Maria. You made a choice tonight and we all get to witness your journey. He looked at the crowd, his voice rising above them. Let us celebrate that. Let us celebrate her. As he spoke, something miraculous happened. One by one, guests began to clap, slowly at first but gaining momentum, a wave of applause rippling through the ballroom. Maria's heart swelled, every clap was a lifeline, pulling her higher, illuminating the path she thought had been closed forever. The woman who had sneered before shifted uncomfortably, finding no ground to stand on in face of Maria's strength. The love and support enveloping her felt surreal. Each beat of the applause echoed like a heartbeat, connecting Maria to a world that had once felt so distant. In that defining moment, she spun slightly, catching her reflection in a nearby wall of glass. For the first time, she saw herself as she was a woman worthy of respect, capable of stepping into the light. She turned back toward Zachary, her smile radiant, her spirit unshaken. "And what about you?" she called out, addressing the woman with newfound confidence. "What stories are you hiding in the shadows?" The room held its breath, eyes bouncing back and forth, waiting for a response that never came. Suddenly, Maria felt the knot loosen. It was as if chains had shattered around her heart. The laughter returned, a joyous undertone to the applause, and Zachary stepped closer, a proud smile warming his face. But just when Maria thought the storm had calmed, she noticed a glimmer of something unsettling in the crowd. An unexpected figure lingered in the back, shadows merging around him, and his gaze locked onto her with an intensity that sent a shiver down her spine. Who was he? And what did he want? Maria's heart raced at the uncertainty crashing over her once more. With each tentative step she took into her new life, shadows loomed, hinting that the past may not be quite done with her yet. As the gala swirled with excitement, one thing was clear: Maria's journey had only just begun, and the questions left unanswered teetered precariously on the edge of her reality. Maria's pulse quickened. The applause around her dimmed, fading into a distant hum as she locked her gaze on the mysterious man. He stood at the back, half hidden in shadow, yet his eyes shone like two piercing beacons. A chill rippled through her, she could practically feel the weight of whatever secrets he carried. Zachary sensed the shift in her demeanor. He stepped closer, concern etched on his face. "Are you okay?" he whispered, his tone gentle, yet firm. I don't know," Maria stammered, keeping her body angled toward Zachary, as if drawing strength from him. She could no longer ignore the figure. There was something unsettling yet oddly magnetic about him. Her instinct screamed to run, yet a part of her felt drawn to uncover the truths wrapped within that shadow. The applause dwindled, leaving the ballroom ringing with an echo of anticipation. It was as if time had slowed, the laughter and chatter fading into a quiet reverence as all eyes shifted to the stranger. "Who is he?" Maria muttered, barely audible over the last remnants of celebration. Zachary followed her gaze, squinting slightly. "I've never seen him before, but doesn't he look like he belongs here?" Her heart sank. The last thing she needed was an unforeseen challenger, someone to taint this moment bathed in her newfound strength. The night had ignited a fire within her, a fierce desire to reclaim her story, to be seen and heard above the noise of the past. But the man stepped closer, stepping out of obscurity. He was sharply dressed, exuding an aura of confidence laced with an unsettling arrogance. His eyes remained locked on hers, unyielding and intense. The crowd parted slightly, creating space as he approached, an uninvited guest intent on sparking a new wave of tension. "Maria," he called, his voice smooth and almost soothing, cutting through the air like a warm breeze. "We need to talk." The room shifted once more, hushed whispers erupting as curiosity clawed at everyone present. Zachary stiffened beside her, but she felt a strange pull, a mixture of fear and interest. "I don't know you," Maria replied, the words slipping out before she could protect herself. "What do you want?" He chuckled softly, a sound that was both charming and unnerving. "You're stronger than I expected." "I admire that. But I believe we have unfinished business from the past." A shiver traced her spine. Unfinished business? What could he possibly mean? There was a hole in her memory, a haze that left her feeling vulnerable. The man had stirred shadows she thought were long buried, bringing forth questions she wasn't ready to confront. Who are you? She pressed, her voice steadier than she felt, searching his face for any semblance of familiarity. His eyes flickered with recognition. Just someone who knows your story, Maria. A story you've yet to fully embrace. Zachary stepped in front of her, a protective stance emerging. I think you should leave. She's not interested in whatever it is you want. Maria took a bold step forward, feeling the energy shift in the room. No, Zachary. I deserve to know. I need to know. The man smiled, an enigmatic expression that suggested he held all the cards. Isn't it time you found out what really happened? The truth has a way of changing everything. As he spoke, the energy in the room amplified, crackling with tension and curiosity. The applause had faded, leaving behind a sense of dawning drama, a reckoning. And just when she thought she'd finally taken charge of her life, the past loomed closer, reminding her that everything could change in an instant. What had he meant? What truth waited beneath the surface of her new reality? The shadows were creeping in, and Maria took a breath, ready to confront whatever lay ahead, knowing deep down that this was only the beginning. With her heart racing as fast as her thoughts, she took a step toward the unknown, daring to unlock the door to her enigmatic past and confront the man waiting on the other side. What secrets would he unearth? Maria's resolve hardened as she stepped closer to the mysterious man, her heartbeat drumming in her ears. The world around her faded, and all that existed was the flicker of his gaze and the hushed anticipation of the onlookers. Zachary's protective stance behind her felt both reassuring and limiting. She wanted answers, and she wasn't about to back down. What do you mean by unfinished business? She demanded, her voice steady yet laced with trepidation. The man tilted his head slightly, a smirk dancing on his lips. There are truths you've kept in the shadows, Maria. Things that shape who you are but remain hidden even from yourself. His words gnawed at her insides. She didn't want someone else's interpretation of her life, especially not from a stranger. You don't know me. Don't I? He replied smoothly, stepping even closer, his presence both magnetic and unnerving. I know you better than you think. The dance you've always loved, the one you think no one remembers, it's linked to everything you're desperate to escape. A rush of memories flooded her, an image of swirling skirts under dim lights, echoing laughter, and the warmth of applause washed over her. But that was all it was, a fleeting moment from a past she had thought left behind. Had it really forged her identity? It doesn't matter, Maria said defiantly, clenching her fists to anchor herself. I've moved on. I've built a new life. Whatever you think you know, isn't it time you embraced that part of yourself again? He interrupted, his voice low, coaxing like the tide. What you've buried is aching to be set free. You've denied yourself joy for too long. Maria's thoughts raced as she fought to hold on to her fortitude. I said no. I'm not interested in whatever you're selling. Yet even as she spoke, a flicker of doubt ignited within her. What if he was right? What if that hidden fire deep down was begging to be acknowledged? Everyone deserves a chance to reclaim their story, he pressed, his eyes searching hers with a sincerity she didn't expect. You have the power to shape it how you want, instead of letting others dictate it for you. The murmurs around them intensified, but she heard nothing but his words. The weight of his gaze mixed with the flurry of emotions inside her, anger, fear, desire. This was her moment to stand firm, to push back against the unraveling strands of her past. You don't get it, she shot back, though uncertainty crept into her tone. The past can't be changed. It's done. Maybe not, he conceded, but you can redefine it. All I'm offering is a glimpse into the history you're blocking out, a chance to see yourself truly if you dare. Dare. The word resonated. In that single moment of connection, Maria felt the chaotic storm within her quiet. It was a flicker of hope, the promise of rediscovery, and beneath it all, terror at what that might mean. What if facing her past led to breaking everything apart? What if it bound her to something she couldn't escape? Zachary's hand rested on her shoulder, grounding her once more. Maria, you don't need to listen to him. Your life is here, right now. You're right, she whispered, almost to herself. But what if I need to confront it? The man stepped back slightly, his expression a blend of encouragement and challenge. When you decide to meet your true self, I'll be here. But only you can take that step. Maria inhaled sharply, the room seeming to expand with possibility and dread. At that moment, the path before her seemed to fork, one road leading back into the familiar shadows of her past, the other into uncharted light. Maria? Zachary's voice cut through the tension, filled with concern. She turned toward him, caught between her protective friendship and a haunting curiosity that refused to leave her mind. The decision loomed. What would it take to unlock the door to her real self? And if she did, would she emerge transformed, or would the truth shatter everything she built? The anticipation hung thick in the air, begging for resolution. As a new gaze of uncertainty fell over the room, Maria took a breath, bracing herself for whatever might come next, and the man stood ready, an open door to her past. Would she step through? Maria took a deep breath, the weight of the moment settling heavily on her shoulders. The air felt charged, every gaze from the crowd pushing her toward a decision she wasn't sure she was ready to make. Zachary's hand on her shoulder grounded her, but the mystery man's words stirred something deep inside her, igniting a battle she thought she had already won. What if confronting my past only brings more pain? She pondered, the thought slipping out between her clenched teeth. Sometimes, pain is the first step to healing, the man replied, his voice smooth as silk. You don't know what awaits you on the other side. Maria wanted to deflect, to deny the temptation of his offer. Yet here he was, presenting a mirror to her soul. Part of her was desperate to look away, to ignore the truth that lurked just beneath the surface. But another part, a darker, almost primal part, longed for the kind of raw freedom he hinted at. The crowd's fascination with the burgeoning tension felt palpable and intrusive. A woman in the back whispered, "Is she going to dance again?" Other murmurs followed, speckled with curiosity and nostalgia. Maria's chest tightened. Dance had been her escape, her joy, but also her shame. She had buried those moments beneath layers of responsibility and routine. Remember the applause? The way it felt to be alive on stage? The man's voice cut through her doubts. You can feel that again. Just imagine. Maria shook her head, fighting against the tide of yearning and fear. Stop. You don't know what you're asking me to do. And yet, you're captivated, he challenged gently. Emotions are a guide, Maria. They show you where to go, even when fear tries to take hold. She glanced back at Zachary, his eyes filled with concern. Maria, you don't have to do this. You have a good life now. We can leave. His voice was steady, but she could hear the cracks of vulnerability. But what if this is about taking that life further? What if it's not just about the past, but about who I can become? Maria's voice trembled, revealing her inner turmoil. The man stepped forward again, solid and sure. Dance for yourself, Maria. Only then will you reclaim your power. This isn't just about performance, it's about reclaiming your spirit. As he spoke, the memories rushed back, the warmth of the stage lights, the exhilaration of movement, the deep connection she felt with the music. The thrill intertwined with pain, twisting in her chest like a double-edged sword. Zachary's voice softened. What if it doesn't change anything? What if it changes everything? She whispered back, surprising herself. The man smiled knowingly, as if he held the key to all her doubts. Take the leap, and I promise you'll find out. In that moment, she felt the room shift. The weight of decades of restraint pressed against her, and despite the fear, a spark began to ignite. Was it courage? Hope? Or was it simply a need to know what might happen if she let go? Okay, she breathed, feeling the tension snap like a taut string. I'll do it. I'll dance. Zachary's face fell momentarily, confusion mixed with worry. Maria, are you sure? The man's eyes gleamed with an approval that electrified the atmosphere. Then we start now. Maria turned to him, heart racing, breath hitching. And if I fall? If it's too much? Then you'll rise again, he assured her, everything softening in his intensity. You'll find out who you truly are. With the decision made, Maria could feel the stage beneath her feet, the silence of expectation wrapping around her like a cloak. She didn't know where this path would lead, only that she had ignited a fire within her that yearned for freedom and truth. As she took her first step toward the open door of her past, questions surged in her mind. Would she find a lost piece of herself, or awaken something she never wanted to face? The audience's whispers faded, it was just her and the pulse of possibility. In that heartbeat of clarity, all she could do was embrace the unknown, and wonder what unveiling awaited her on the other side. The stage felt foreign yet familiar, an old friend whose embrace she had forgotten. Maria blinked against the lights, the blaring brightness blotting out the crowd. Her heart raced like a drum inside her chest, reverberating in time with the memories that began to trickle back. She could almost hear the soft strains of a melody swirling around her, gently fanning the flames of her childhood passion. The world beyond the spotlight faded, leaving only the dance and the desperate need for freedom. One deep breath, then another. With a tentative step forward, Maria let her body sway naturally. The rhythm was instinctual, flooding her senses, a forgotten echo reawakening in a long-quieted heart. Remember the moves, the man's words resonated in her mind as she began to move. Suddenly, she was that girl again, youthful and unburdened, feeling the rush of exhilaration coursing through her veins. Each pivot and turn opened the door to a long-dormant spirit within her, and what remained of her trepidation began to peel away. Lightness embraced her, intermingled with the electricity pulsing through the crowd. They seemed to be holding their collective breath, caught in the throes of anticipation. She felt their gazes weave in and out of her movements, creating a cocoon that both frightened and exhilarated her. Zachary stood at the edge of the stage, his expression a mix of pride and apprehension. The familiarity of their love wrapped around her, but even that warmth could not diminish the rising tide of her performance. I can do this, she whispered to herself, each step translating her resolve into action. She twirled and spun, embodying the very essence of dance. The burden of years of disappointment lightened, allowing her spirit to unfurl. As she moved, she recognized fragments of her past weaving into the dance, the heartbreaks, the goodbyes, the quiet nights she spent wishing she could be bold again. Each moment carved into the soft fabric of every movement, molding them into something both personal and profound. But just as the rhythm reached its crescendo, doubt came crashing back like a wave threatening to engulf her. What if this is just a fleeting escape? A seed of fear sprouted. Would the exhilaration of the performance reset her life, or would it return her to a chaos she had fought so hard to leave behind? She faltered, a brief flicker of uncertainty interrupted her flow. In that split second, the crowd gasped. It was loud enough to echo even above the thumping beat in her heart. But the moment passed, and as she steadied herself, that same voice, the man's playful challenge, invoked a resolve deep within her. Dance for yourself, Maria. She pushed through the unease, a fire igniting with each movement. She danced not only for the audience before her but also for the girl who once dreamt without boundaries. A wave of heat flooded her spirit, enveloping her in a warmth that felt like love, a love she was desperately learning to give herself. With every twist and flourish, she shed layers of doubt, each step becoming a declaration of her renewed determination. The rhythm overtook her, and she let go fully, surrendering to the moment's magic. As the final notes echoed through the hall, leaving a hush in their wake, Maria lifted her head high. The crowd erupted into applause, cheers cascading over her like a waterfall, washing away the remnants of her fear. But amidst the celebration, one lingering question loomed larger than before. Would this dance mark only a moment of courage, or would it transform her life completely? That uncertainty danced in her mind as the man's gaze caught hers from the side of the stage, a knowing smile and a glimmer of something deeper reflected in his eyes. What other truths awaited her dance? Would she dare to peel back more layers of her hidden self? Maria stood there, ready to embrace the next unexpected turn of her life's performance. The applause roared like a storm, wrapping around Maria and lifting her higher. Each clap was a tiny wave that broke against her, leaving behind the feeling of triumph. She could hardly catch her breath, her chest heaving with a mix of exhilaration and disbelief. Had she really just poured her soul out on that stage? Zachary stepped forward, his face illuminated by a radiant smile. He looked proud, and that warmth filled her chest. "You were amazing," he exclaimed, enveloping her in a tight hug. He smelled like home to her, a scent filled with one part comfort and another part bittersweet memories. "You really did it." "Did I?" Maria laughed, disbelief bubbling forth. The fear that had smothered her only moments before now felt like an old jacket she could finally toss away. She had stepped into the spotlight, and for the first time, the shadows behind her didn't feel so heavy. "Absolutely. They loved you." Zachary's eyes sparkled, filled with the kind of joy that could light up even the darkest corners of her past. But even in that blissful moment, a faint shadow lurked. What would happen after the applause faded? As the crowd began to disperse, and Maria stepped down from the stage, the high of performing slowly faded. She was still riding the wave of empowerment, but underneath it was a small pang of worry. Could she keep this feeling alive? What if it was just a fleeting spark, a bright flame all too ready to be snuffed out by reality? "Come on, let us celebrate." Zachary's voice pulled her back. He entwined his fingers with hers, dragging her away from the aftermath of her triumph. They made their way through the back doors, the bustling excitement of the event still palpable in the air. The evening sun spilled through the open door as they emerged into the quiet alley behind the theater. Their hands remained clasped, and for a moment, it felt like the rest of the world faded away. "I never thought I would get to see you dance like that," Zachary said, his voice low and laden with emotion. "You were beautiful, and you were in your element." His gaze was unwavering, an anchor amidst the whirlpool of her uncertainties. Maria felt a flush creeping up her cheeks. "I almost didn't make it on stage. It felt like a dream." She reflected on her vulnerability and the courage it took to embrace a part of herself she had buried for so long. It felt surreal, yet exhilarating. Zachary leaned closer, brushing a stray hair behind her ear. "You deserve to be free, to show the world who you really are," he said softly, the words wrapping around her like a warm blanket. "You don't have to go back to the way things were, you know? This could be a new beginning." His faith in her pushed against her doubts. Maria's heart raced again, but this time it felt alive with possibility. Could she really step forward into this new life? What would it mean to let go of all the fears and expectations? Suddenly, the side door swung open. A tall figure strode out, a flicker of recognition striking Maria. The dance instructor, the man who had called her back to the stage. He approached with purposeful steps, his demeanor confident yet warm. "Maria, that was breathtaking," he said, his eyes holding hers with an intensity that sent an excited shiver down her spine. "I'd love to talk more about your dance, and what's next for you." Her breath caught. Did he see her potential? Was this the chance to take her passion to a whole new level? Questions spiraled in her mind, the thrill of possibility mixing with the weight of uncertainty. What would Maria say? Would she dare to embrace this unexpected opportunity? As their eyes locked, the thrill of the unknown thrummed through her. What awaited her just around the corner? Maria felt a rush of emotions as she stood before the dance instructor, a mix of excitement and fear woven into the fabric of her thoughts. I don't know what to say," she managed, her voice a soft whisper, almost drowned out by the fading applause behind her. The instructor smiled, a genuine warmth in his expression. "Just say yes," he replied, as if predicting her hesitation. "I see something in you that's rare. You have a gift, Maria. It deserves to be nurtured, not tucked away." Zachary squeezed her hand, his encouragement palpable. "Go for it, Maria. This could be everything you've dreamed of," he said, his eyes sparkling with belief. Taking a deep breath, Maria felt the weight of all those years spent pushing aside her passion. The routines, the classes she had skipped, the friends who didn't understand her obsession with dance. Could she really step forward, finally embracing what she loved? The dance instructor tilted his head slightly, seemingly sensing her internal struggle. "Let's talk about what you want, and how I can help you get there. Not every day does a dancer light up the room the way you did tonight," he continued. His confidence was infectious, casting a halo of hope around them. "Okay," she finally said, her heart racing with a fervor that sent adrenaline coursing through her body. "I want to learn. I want to push myself." "Good," he replied enthusiastically, "let's set up some time to work together, just you and me. I believe you can take this further, maybe even compete." Compete? The word echoed in her mind like a bell ringing in the distance. Could she really envision herself on a stage once more, but this time as a competitor? Maria's heart danced at the thought, but doubt crept in. What if she failed? What if she was only fooling herself into believing she was talented? But as she looked at Zachary, standing steadfast beside her, all her fears began to fade. "I'd like that," Maria said, her voice steady despite the fireworks in her chest. "I want to learn from you." "Excellent," the instructor replied, excitement flickering in his eyes. "Now let's discuss your style and work on a training plan that fits you." As they talked, the alley felt like a cocoon, a safe haven just for her. It was vibrant with chatter and laughter, but all Maria could hear was the dance instructor's voice weaving stories of techniques and movements. Zachary stood nearby, watching with admiration as Maria's resolve deepened. Seeing her take this step ignited something inside him, too. His dreams had always lived quietly in the background, perhaps it was time to awaken them as well. Suddenly, the hustle of the night rang with clarity. Maria's past, filled with doubt and darkness, began to fade into a mosaic of colors painted by possibilities. She was ready to fight for herself, to face whatever came next, and to inspire those who had been silenced by fear. The shadows no longer loomed large. Just then, the dance instructor paused, looking straight into her eyes. "But remember, Maria. It's not just about technique, it's about emotion. What you feel has to show." Her instincts fluttered at the challenge, it was like an invitation to dig deeper within. "Will you be able to share your story through dance?" he asked, a spark of challenge in his eyes. Maria's heart raced at the thought. Could she use her pain and joy as her greatest artistic expression? The question hung in the air, ominous yet empowering. So much was at stake, and every word felt like a step away from the old Maria and toward the woman she wanted to be. Just then, she noticed the shadows of the past retreating, and before she could respond, doubt returned, as if to remind her that the battle wasn't over. "What if I can't?" she whispered, a tremor in her voice. The instructor didn't flinch. "You won't know until you try." What awaited her on this new journey? Would she discover the courage she needed, or would the fear of failure hold her back once again? The anticipation of the unknown loomed ahead, ready to challenge her resolve. Maria stood at the brink of a new chapter, a mix of excitement and fear coursing through her veins. The dance instructor's words echoed in her mind, teasing her resolve while pushing her further into the light. Could she really embrace her past and use it as fuel for something greater? Each step of her journey had introduced doubt, yet here, standing next to Zachary, she felt an inkling of strength she had long buried. "I will try," she said, the determination in her voice cutting through her own uncertainty, but it was Zachary who spoke next, his tone unwavering. "You are more than capable, Maria. Trust yourself. With a gentle squeeze of her hand, he bolstered her confidence, reminding her that her dreams mattered. The warm connection between them felt like an anchor, solid and grounding against the tide of new ambitions. The dance instructor smiled again, nodding his approval. That's the spirit. But remember, every powerful dancer has a deeper story that drives their passion. You can't be afraid to share that. The words wrapped around her, igniting a flicker of something bold and new. Maybe releasing her story wouldn't just mean a performance, perhaps it would be her way of connecting with others, reminding them of their own hidden dreams. She felt the weight of every moment she had pushed aside lift just a touch. This was more than just her journey, it was an invitation to others to embrace their battles and transform them into beauty. The dance instructor launched into plans, his enthusiasm infectious. He spoke of styles, techniques, and the power of narratives told through body language. Each word shrank the barrier that fear had tried to erect, and Maria found herself nodding, captivated by the possibilities. Zachary remained nearby, watching with an expression full of pride. His belief held her steady, grounding her as she began to visualize the path ahead. She could see herself in rehearsals, pushing her body to move in ways that felt freeing and raw, expressing the joy she had robbed herself of for so long. The evening air wrapped around them as they emerged from the alley, the world ahead pulsating with promise. The shadows of her past still whispered, but Maria felt emboldened, the flicker of hesitation beginning to fade. And just as she picked up the first step toward this new dance, the crowd began to thin, leaving only those who mattered most. But then, the mysterious man from before reappeared on the sidelines, watching. His intensity felt strange yet familiar, igniting something within her that swirled between old memories and new beginnings. "Maria," he called, catching her attention. "You're taking your first steps forward. But don't forget your true strength comes from within. It's set loose when you stay authentic to who you are." The message struck deep. It was a reminder that every step she took onward had to align with her truth, blending her past with her future. She turned back to Zachary, his gentle smile reassuring her. "We are on this journey together, Maria. Your story matters. I'm here for it." In that moment, as the setting sun painted the sky in hues of pink and gold, Maria felt the weight of expectation lift. She could finally carve out her place not only for herself but also for all those players in the shadows, waiting for their chance to shine. Embracing the warmth of that thought, she resolved to face not only the crowd ahead but also everything that had ever held her back. She would reclaim her story, dance her truth, and feed that fiery spirit within. As she stepped forward, a radiant smile broke the surface of her joy, and her heart swelled with the notion that transformation was indeed possible. Emboldened and freed, Maria lingered one last time to look back at the fearful shadows of her past. She whispered, "Thank you," grateful for the lessons, yet ready to turn the page. A world awaited her, filled with infinite possibilities, rhythm, and the promise of embracing every part of herself. The dance of her life had truly begun. As you've witnessed the profound journey of Maria, don't let this moment pass. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you won't miss out on the next exclusive stories that inspire. Leave a like now, to feed the algorithm and let everyone know the power of transformation. Comment below your reactions and feelings about Maria's incredible journey. Your voice matters. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to share.